Warning, there will be spoilers for a lot of the most recent chapters of Kagurabachi, including the most recent chapter as of this recording. You have been warned. Well, I wanted my next video to be something non-Kagurabachi related, as there's plenty of other series that I enjoy, but after seeing a couple of comments on my last video, they gave me all the necessary fuel to the fire I needed to very easily cave in and do something I've been wanting to do for a long time now, and that's make a video on Seiichi Samura, one of Kagurabachi's best characters and probably one of the greatest characters in Weekly Shonen Jump at the moment, and maybe even in the last couple of years. The absolute top tier writing that Hokuzono has displayed through Samura's story and character arc have just been a joy to read every single week. Every chapter he's in is peak, and I just can't resist talking about how awesome he is anymore. So that's exactly what I'm going to do in this video right now. To start off with, I'd like to talk about how Samura is a very interesting character, not just in terms of him having a complex personality and being very multifaceted, but in terms of his functional role within the story. As while he is definitely an antagonist, he's far from a villain, and that's probably the most interesting thing about him. When we're first introduced to him, he seems like an ally, a very strong one at that, who's going to help Chihiro, maybe train him in the future, who knows. But very quickly, we're actually seeing him act quite villainous, as he seems to be a traitor, killing one of our newly introduced sword masters, Uhura, and even killing Chihiro shortly after. And we're immediately left to think that he's a villain, that he's a traitor, that he's evil. But that's exactly what Hokuzono wanted us to think, because as the curtain was pulled back on him, and we learned about his past, his backstory, and are introduced to Iori, his daughter, we learned that Samura is anything but a villain. He's a hero, a tragic one at that, and moreover, a broken man. A man shackled by his past, shackled by guilt and shame, unable to move forward and live in the present and go on towards the future. And that's what makes him so compelling, is that Samura at the end of the day is a very human character. He wants to do good, he wants to do the right thing, but he is shackled by guilt, by shame, and by his past, as he feels guilty for the malediction even still existing in the world today. And after Yura places the fear of the malediction in his heart, he's driven to desperation. He's unable to move forward. Just when he was starting to make progress, he regresses into his old ways. And that's what makes him such an interesting character, is that in spite of how noble he is, he's flawed. He feels human. He feels real. He feels raw and so relatable. We all have things we regret. We all have shame and sins we've committed that weigh us down. He's very human and feels very relatable. And you just can't help but like the guy and feel sorry for him, because he's a good dude. You want to see him get the redemption. You want to see him overcome his inner demons and finally move forward into the future, but he's just unable to. That's what makes him such a tragic and beautiful character. But beyond that, I think he ties into some of the deeper themes of Kagurabachi as well, as I think one of the biggest themes in the series that's a bit understated, you kind of have to look for it, but I do believe it's there, is the theme of fatherhood. And to be more specific, the relationships between fathers and their children and how those two sides interact. As in the case of many of the major characters in the story, they're defined or at least heavily influenced by their relationships with their fathers. Chihiro, for example, had a great relationship with his father. His father instilled in him all the ideals he has today, and his love for his father and protecting his memory and legacy and upholding those ideals is what drives him every day in spite of all the suffering and hardship that he goes through. He loves his father and cherishes the time they had together more than anything. Hakuri was defined by his bad relationship with his father. His father never believed in him, saw him as the runt of the litter, someone who was worthless, someone who was trash, someone who was even less than the people they sold at the Rakuzaichi auction. Hirohiko doesn't even have a father, and as such, he's become a debased, evil, murderous little shit, because he never had a father to guide him and teach him the way. But with the case of Samura, the mold that Hokuzono had used is a bit broken here, as rather than seeing Iori's perspective and her relationship with her father through her eyes, Samura, the father himself, is the one we focus on. In particular, Samura's whole thing is because of his guilt and because of the shame he feels, He doesn't believe that he deserves to be Iori's father. He loves her and wants to protect her and wants to be with her, but he feels that he can't. In his own words during one of the flashbacks, he can't hold his daughter with these hands. The same hands that he used to kill people in the Seiichi War, and the hands that could have ended the threat of the malediction forever. The one thing that he fears the most that could take her away from him. But that's the lesson that Samura needs to learn as the story goes on, is that Iori never wanted him to be a perfect father. She just wanted him to be there at all. Again, in their flashback, we see how Iori is afraid that if Samura finds out that she's being bullied and she's being picked on because of his reputation as a murderer from the Seiichi War, that he will leave her behind and that she'll be without both of her parents, as her mother had recently died in the flashback. And so she just wants him to be there. But Samura's too blinded by guilt and shame to see that. He doesn't realize that in this instance, the perfect is the enemy of the good. He can't be a perfect father. He could never be. But he can be a good one. That's what he needs to realize. That's what makes him so tragic and compelling. And yet again, spoilers ahead, but as of the recording of this video, in the most recent chapter, it seems like that's what Samura has finally realized. It seems that Chihiro and Iori both have finally gotten through to him and made him realize the truth that was always there right in front of him. That the burden of taking on the Shinoichi isn't something he has to do alone. And that while, yes, it's a noble and wonderful and beautiful thing to sacrifice your life for your loved ones, it's not a bad thing to ask for help, as no man, even one as powerful as him, is an island. And that he needs to let go of his guilt, let go of his shame, and move forward into the future. He needs to not forget the past, but not let it shackle him, and go forward into the future, knowing that he can be redeemed and that he can make up for his past mistakes and for his past failings, and that the burden he has isn't one he has to take on alone. It's a beautiful story, and this image right here is some of Hokuzono's best work. But enough about all that deep, meaningful, insightful shit. Let's talk about for a second how Samura is one of the most badass aura farming motherfuckers I've ever seen. Because the title of the video, I mean it. This dude could teach aura farming 101. If aura farming is a crop, then he is Old MacDonald. This dude is him. He's got some of the coldest, most hard, badass panels I've ever seen. I mean, just look at this shit, man. My gosh, this is peak. Oh my goodness, bro. Look at the art. Look at the feathers, the wings. Oh my gosh, bro. Dudes will look at this and say, hell yeah. So I'm gonna say it. Hell yeah. This is badass. And this is only one of his best panels. His recent fight with Chihiro has some of the best paneling and choreography I've ever seen. My goodness, dude. I mean, shit, the Kagurabachi is about to get diabetes with how much Hokuzono has been feeding us lately, man. This shit is just peak. I mean, oh my gosh, man. It's beautiful. Just look at it. It's art. I don't even need to say anything. Just look at it. I'm just going to leave it on screen. Look at it. I want all of you to look at it. Just look at it. It's amazing. Oh my gosh. I mean, damn. Plus, we also got to talk about how strong this dude is. I mean, in my opinion, unless I'm just forgetting something, he's got to be the strongest character we've seen on screen in Kagurabachi yet, right? I mean, to be fair, there are still two swordmasters out there who could be incredibly strong, and obviously the Shinoichi's wielder is going to be the strongest as he wields the malediction, but in terms of on-screen feats, characters we've actually been introduced to, Samura has got to be the strongest. He has an enchanted blade that can't be broken, he has instant teleportation, so he's literally beyond speed, and he's got an ability that can detect people over miles. Now, granted, it wasn't as powerful because of how much he spread it out, but localized, you couldn't even hide from this dude. Tobimune has got to be one of the craziest sets of powers we've seen in this series. Probably the strongest enchanted blade at the moment. Yeah, N10 has the ability to break the others, but Tobimune has got to be the most powerful that I think we've seen. It's crazy. But all of that put together, Samura has just got to be one of the best characters in Shonen Jump in years. I love this dude, and I feel like if Kagurabachi's anime adaptation really ends up popping off and it becomes cemented as one of the biggest series in the last couple of years, I think this is a character we're going to be talking about for a long time. A long, long time, and his story is not over yet, and I'm excited to see where he's going to go from here, as I think that this most recent arc has been the best arc in the series, and Hokuzono outdoes himself every time. But that's just my opinion. I want to see what you guys have to say in the comments below. I'll see y'all next time.